When Ghostbusters was first released in 1984, it looked like a potential disaster. With a prospective star who died of a drug overdose, a Marshmallow Man outfit that kept catching fire, and a brand new untested special effects company, how did Dan Aykroyd's enormous concept result in an all-time comedy classic on this episode of Rerun Zone?
Something strange in the neighborhood. Who you gonna call? Ghostbusters!
Ghostbusters is one of the most iconic comedy films of all time, but its incredible success was far from predetermined. The movie encountered many challenges right from the start. The film's budget was huge for the time, and studio officials saw it as a dangerous and expensive gamble to take on the backs of former television stars and inexperienced filmmakers. This was not Animal House, Caddyshack, or Stripes. It was taking a massive risk in the eyes of the studio. Ghostbusters was initially conceived and written by Dan Aykroyd, with himself and fellow Saturday Night Live alumni John Belushi in mind. It was a 70 or 80 page treatment that he called Ghostbusters, which was supposed to be a vehicle for just the two of them, just like the Blues Brothers had been. That was until Aykroyd got the news that Belushi had died of a drug overdose. The script was shelved for a time until Aykroyd had a conversation about it with SNL alumni Bill Murray. Murray thought it sounded like a good idea, and Aykroyd handed him a half-completed draft to read. After looking it over, Murray consented to be tied to the project, even though he was already famous for not officially committing to projects until the last minute. Ivan Reitman was the perfect choice to direct the film, as he was a rising star with the success of films like Animal House, Stripes, and Meatballs. Aykroyd showed the script to Reitman, who loved the concept but thought it would be impossible to make as it was. Originally, the movie was supposed to take place in outer space on different planets and dimensional planes. Reitman, over lunch, proposed that they remove the film from the fantasy realm and place it dead center in reality, with the Ghostbusters going into business in the heart of New York City. He believed that if they played the film realistically from the start, people would end up believing in the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man by the movie's end. Reitman suggested that the Ghostbusters were paranormal investigators conducting paranormal research at a university. They would get in trouble, then get kicked out, and then decide to set up their own business. Finally, Reitman urged Aykroyd to bring in Harold Ramis, director of Caddyshack and National Lampoon's Vacation, and Bill Murray's co-star in Stripes. They walked right over to Ramis's office, and after skimming through the script and hearing their plans for the movie, he said, "I'm in." Ramis went on to become the film's co-writer and eventually the third Ghostbuster. Even though the film needed a massive rewrite, they decided to present it to Columbia Pictures chairman Frank Price, and after hearing their presentation, Price asked what the project's cost was. Reitman told him $30 million, and Price immediately gave it the go-ahead. Reitman later admitted that he had come up with that number out of thin air. 3 times as much as Stripes sounded reasonable, he later stated. The only caveat was that it had to be delivered to theaters by June 8, 1984, just 13 months from that meeting. They had no script, no effects house, and no starting date for production. The higher-ups at Columbia Pictures hated the price tag, as they thought it was way too much for a comedy. They tried to talk Price out of the project, saying it was too expensive and too risky. But Price stood his ground, knowing his neck was on the line. Ghostbusters was now fast-tracked, and Aykroyd, Ramis, and Reitman worked non-stop for the next 2.5 weeks to write a shooting script. Much of the material in the shooting script ended up not being used, however. There were still nearly 200 special effects shots to be done. The major special effects studios were already occupied by other large productions like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and Return of the Jedi. Reitman offered an almost impossible solution to their dilemma. He wanted to start their own effects house. In a stroke of luck, Oscar-winning effects artist Richard Edlund, who had worked on Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and Poltergeist, wanted to open his own company. Although at the time he was in the hospital recovering from back surgery, he agreed to take on the project. Columbia Pictures and MGM Studios ended up jointly funding the new company, and with only 10 months left before release, Edlund got to work. Casting began as soon as the script was close to completion. Bill Murray's love interest, Dana Barrett, caught the interest of Sigourney Weaver, who wanted to do a comedy after her serious roles in Alien and The Year of Living Dangerously. At her audition, she told Reitman that her character should be possessed, like the demonic dog on the roof. Then she got up on the table and began howling like a dog. Reitman was blown away and called Harold Ramis the minute she left to suggest they incorporate the idea into the film and cast Weaver for the role. Reitman then had to recast the part of the geeky Louis Tully role, which had been written with John Candy in mind. Candy decided to pass on the project because he didn't really understand the character. They then turned to Rick Moranis, who thanked Candy for turning down the role. Rick considered it to be one of the best scripts he had ever read. Reitman then went with Ernie Hudson for the role of the fourth Ghostbuster, as he thought Ernie was very likable and had a naive quality to him that made him perfect for the part. The team then began filming in New York City in the middle of October 1983. On the first day of shooting, after seeing the team in full Ghostbuster attire for the first time marching down Madison Avenue, Reitman turned to executive producer Joe Medjuk and said, "This is going to be great. I think we're going to do something really special here." From then on, everything went smoothly on the set. Shooting wrapped in January of '84, leaving less than 5 months to edit and get the special effects done for the summer release date. The newly formed special effects company went into overdrive as many effect shots had to be done in one take, which is unheard of in the industry. Reitman wanted to add another 100 shots with about 2 months left, but had to settle for about half of them. The effects were not all state-of-the-art, and some of them were extremely rough, but it was all in the character of the movie itself, which was, after all, a comedy. In fact, the effects actually added to the comedy. When the film was finally released, it opened at #1 and smashed Columbia's best opening weekend and best opening week records in the week following its June '84 release. It then stayed at #1 almost every week through the rest of that summer. The scene at movie theaters around the country was like a rock concert, with lines of fans waiting around the block to see the film. The incredible success of the movie led to a sequel in 1989, which the critics didn't love, but still did great box office business, breaking the all-time record for a one-day opening. In the end, Ghostbusters surpassed all expectations to become an all-time comedy classic. Whether you grew up watching it or are just discovering this iconic film for the first time, tell us your thoughts about Ghostbusters in the comments below. If you'd like to see more of this type of content, click the link on the screen and tune in for more classic TV, movie, and pop culture trivia, reviews, and retrospectives on Rerun Zone. Goodbye for now.